Before we start, I just wanted to thank you for tuning in. And if you're enjoying my content and would like to support, then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or leave a comment. Or if you're listening, then you can rate and review the One Day Podcast on Apple Podcast. This stuff really helps and allows my content to reach a wider audience.
When you get into the F&B, what do you bring? Everybody always thinks, well, I'm going to make the best food in the world. Well, there's 1,000,005 people before you that said the same thing, but are they actually doing that? I don't know. Some of them will be, of course, or else they wouldn't be in business. F&B is a very, very tough business. You depend on humans. Humans is always the factor that will either make or break you. You know, if you can get the right people and you can create the right culture, and you can yourself become a great leader.
This is the One Day Podcast. My name is Omar Al-Majali, and each week I am bringing you some of the most accomplished and inspiring minds in the Middle East and the world to give you a glimpse of their professional life and pull back the curtain a bit on the real and untold story of their success, to inspire you and help you learn from those who have walked the walk so you could move one day closer to your own goals. Hope you enjoy this episode. This is the One Day Podcast. Welcome to another episode and another success story to share. Today, we're going to be diving into the food and beverage business in the nutrition space, which is a very hot business here in Dubai. And to give us a sneak peek into that is our guest, Andreas Borgmann. An entrepreneur from the age of 18, Andreas had started businesses in multiple fields, ranging from food and beverage, real estate, construction, design, and even IT. With a passion for sport, fitness, and healthy eating, Andreas identified the gap in the Dubai F&B market for healthy, nutritious food. And along with his partner, Mark, started the health food concept in 2010 called Kcal. Since then, Kcal has enjoyed phenomenal success in the UAE and now forging ahead with plans to potentially expand within the region and beyond. This healthy food brand operates in the retail space. They offer meal plan services as well as online food delivery. In Dubai alone, there are 12 Kcal branches. If you live here in Dubai, I'm sure that you're familiar with this brand or have seen it around. Welcome, Andreas.
Thank you.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, it's been 2020 was a strange year, right? And now 21. And I think we all get accustomed to the world we live in today, with all the problems that COVID has hit us with, but in general, yeah, it's look, you have to smile to move on, right? I mean, if you sit down and cry, then you're not going to get anywhere, right? I mean,
well, listen, I'm sure that business
thing is to give up, right?
Yeah, no, 100. The easiest way is to give up. I like that. But I'm sure that the business has picked up in 2021, just because I feel like the economy in Dubai and around the world has picked up significantly or just faster than anyone expected. Is that true for the F&B business? I mean, since we're talking about COVID, we might as well. Do you feel like this year,
sure,
the economy has been picking up and it's been reflecting in your industry?
Yeah, 2021 has definitely picked up in the F&B space. We're seeing growth on all platforms, which is great, of course. I do think there's a lot of reasons why we grow. Not only Dubai is probably the most saturated market in the F&B space in the world.
Right. Yeah, man.
I'm actually pretty sure it is. If you look at the number of restaurants versus how many people live here, for sure. But even if you go on Deliveroo and all the other apps and so on, you'll just see you get bombarded with, there's like 5,000 burger places, every second shop is a burger house, right? where if you go to my country, it's a pizza place. So yeah, I do believe the way that Dubai handled the whole Corona saga has just shown the world that, we mean business, where a lot of other countries, they're still debating on it. The management of this country took decisions and went through with it. And we're very fortunate to be here. I like traveling. I like seeing new places. I like moving around, although I have been here 16 years now. But in all fairness, safety and so on, it's a great place to be.
I agree.
And I believe the rest of the world have seen that. If you go on the roads now, normally it takes me 16 minutes to get to work. Now it takes 31.
Yeah.
What?
I know, man. To be honest, I've been living here for 7 years or 7 years and a half. And not until last year did I honestly started considering Dubai as real home, just because I saw how the city was managed and how the people of the city was, people were taken care of. And it was one of the most, I would say, progressive cities in terms of dealing with the situation. And it was really cool to be living here and witnessing that firsthand. So I agree with you. So you're from Denmark, right? When did you move to
That's
Dubai?
right.
What did you do? Just give us some pre-Dubai context into
Oh,
Andreas.
I've been around the world a few times. So I partly grew up in Africa with my parents. Then I lived in Denmark, studied for a bit. I studied some IT and some architecture design. But then I got bored and then thought, I'm highly dyslexic. So I've always had this idea that I would have to work for myself, because then nobody could point out that I couldn't read or write.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a bit like the Richard Branson story, I need to work for myself because nobody can tell me that I can't read and write, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So this entrepreneurial thing, it's kind of like, for me, that was the easiest choice. I moved to the Mediterranean and then lived for 5 years in Malta. I was running some business there, got into some real estate there, got a bit fed up with an island. And then I thought, you know what, sold everything, moved to Dubai and got involved in property boom. Obviously, everybody was there. I mean, when I came early 2006, everybody was a real estate broker.
Yeah.
Got involved in the whole boom there and made some good coin. And then, I was flying, I was young, thought I was a, king of a castle, blah, blah, blah. Lost everything and sat there. I remember when the bank started calling me, oh, you need the loan to value ratio is going up. You need to pay. And I'm like, I don't have no money, man. Oh, it's terrible. Anyway, I solved those problems and had a few friends that helped me out and paid them off and so on. So came out of it with a smile and say, you know what, I learned. I'm still young. I don't have kids yet and so on. So yeah, and then I had a real estate company, a construction company, furniture factory, all sorts of stuff, mechanical.
And all that in Dubai?
Workshop. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you've been in the city for a while. It's exploring different avenues. That's.
Oh yeah. I've been around, especially I've been from A to C.
Yeah.
Here in Dubai. And Kcal was, which is my main business now, where I spent basically all my thought process goes to Kcal.
Yeah.
That started back in 2009, but I started with I had a business with my current business partner Mark, which was real estate. He's a sales guy. He's really, really good at that.
Yeah.
I'm not so much of a sales guy, so I didn't do very well at it. But I had quite a bit of property myself, so I thought it would be a good idea to get real estate so I could sell it and make a little profit there. But it didn't really work out that way. It actually, right when we started, that's when it all dipped. So, anyway, so we had this idea of, at the time we used to eat at Nando's, and I got really annoyed because sometimes Nando's consistency was like up and down, and the idea was just to eat a place where the menu is fully transparent in terms of nutrition, and you have the consistency, and then obviously want to eat for free because it will be my place, right? So that was the idea behind Kcal. It was not supposed to be what it is. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think today maybe, but years back, not many people say, oh yeah, I set out to take over the world. They start a business because they started out with a passion, or they think there's some kind of need, but to build it into huge, it's I don't think nobody really has that kind of strategic mindset from the start. It's something
Yeah.
that you grow into when you see things are working. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was honestly, this is a question that I want to ask you. Did you ever see yourself getting here? Did you ever see yourself getting to the Andreas that you are today, the entrepreneur living in Dubai, having established a successful business? Was that ever part of your plan, or do you think it's something that organically
No,
grew?
I think, look, you always aspire to become something, right? But I've been up and down, tried so many different avenues of business and so on. No, not at all. I mean, the thing is, when you have success, not your ego. Well, some people that's another thing we could talk about. But what you experience makes you grow as a person, and
Yeah.
makes you once you taste the success, or some success in meaning, when you do something that gives meaning to you, which is
Yeah.
successful. A success is an individual thing, but once you feel that you're doing something positive, and you get hooked on it, then you kind of see, oh, I can build on this,
Yeah.
so as you grow, then your mindset grows,
Mm.
and obviously, so, but 20 years ago, no way.
Mm.
20 years
Mm.
ago, I probably think, I don't know, I have no idea. I had no plan on, when you're a kid, when they ask you what you want to become,
Yeah.
I was like, something where they don't ask me to read and write. So anyway, that's not a problem
I
anymore
mean,
nowadays.
I want to talk about your dyslexia now that you've actually mentioned it. Can you explain to people who are unaware of what actually dyslexia means and how it affects your educational capacity or capability? Can you give us just some insight into what actually dyslexia means?
So I'm 43 years old. I'm born in 1978, and when I was in school, it was in like primary school. It was in the mid 80s, right? And back then, dyslexia was, well, first of all, dyslexia is the ability not to connect sentences or word together, spelling and reading. That means, if you look at it very simply, like when you do calculation in math, 2 + 2 is 4. Well, if you turn that into letters, and it's very simple, right? I would say 2 + 2 is 5.
Mm.
That's the kind of thing. But when you look at it from a reading perspective, right? So
Mm.
so so simple things, I can't connect them.
Ah.
It's very, very odd. It's very, very odd. Like
So you,
I'll sometimes say, go on.
no, go ahead.
So uh, when look, when you're a kid, not being able to do what other people are doing, um, you kind of distance yourself from that specific thing, because nobody wants to be a failure, right?
Mm.
So me growing up, not being able to, I mean, I was in all sorts of special classes, and oh man, it was like I was a complete freak. Luckily, I was good at football, so it kind of made up for it. So I wasn't completely sidetracked in school because I was good at sports. Um, but I was on all sorts of special classes and so on. And uh, I was only able to. I read fine now. I spell. I don't, but I speak to my phone. It spells for me, right? Or speak to the computer. It spells. If I want to write emails to people that are not in my group of people, a bit longer, then I speak to my phone, and I know what to say, but
Yeah. Yeah.
translating it onto letters is very,
Yeah.
very hard, and it
Yeah.
takes a long time. So typically, when my staff asks me something,
Mm.
most
Mm.
CEOs would write long emails and so on. I write
Mm.
okay, no, yes, and they all laugh about it because they know that I can't be asked spending time on
Yeah.
something that doesn't need to be spent time on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You
Yeah.
know, time is the true commodity of life, right? It's something
Yeah.
that just keeps
Yeah.
ticking.
I'm sure it wasn't easy, man, because back then, knowledge and awareness around dyslexia wasn't that mature, especially in the educational system. But
Yes,
so you were insecure about it, right? Growing up, think.
100%.
But listen, I mean, do you
Oh,
feel like,
terrible.
I'm sure, but do you feel like dyslexia has played a role to the person you are today, this driven entrepreneurial person? If it wasn't for dyslexia,
Yes, 100%. I think today the people with this dyslexia today, they have an advantage, and the advantage is that for them to learn the same thing as others, they need to be able to connect the dots differently. That means If people that knows how to read and write, they go that direction. For you to get from A to B, you need to go zigzag. And all this zigzagging that you're learning through school, trying to get to the same end goal as everybody else, that teaches you much more than it does when you're an adult, because obviously your brain accumulates more information when you're a kid than it does when you're old, because you have, your mindset grows and your ego grows, and then you limit yourself from learning. At least many people do when they grow older, right? So I although most people see it as a disadvantage, I actually see that as an advantage, because there are so many things that I would be able to do that other kids wouldn't, like draw, like thinking processes before they actually happened, visualizing things. Like I visualize everything, right? Visualizing numbers. I'm very good at remember numbers. When I read, I remember all the words because I can't actually spell them. I read them because I've seen them before, not because I can spell them. If you ask me how to spell basically, I wouldn't be able to. But if you read it, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Obviously, I can't spell it because I can remember what it looks like. But if I've never heard a word before, a certain amount of letters, I can't spell it.
Yeah. Hey, it's
very
definitely
strange, actually.
It's definitely not a disability. Do have dyslexic friends, and honestly, they're amongst some of the most successful friends that I have around me. And listen, you're a living proof that something like dyslexia should never be a reason, or should never be used as an excuse to not grow, or to not expand on your own terms, or find the right domains or the right means to do so. You found your own niche, and that is like being entrepreneurial and driven, and you use that to your advantage. So you are a story that I hope people learn from.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, mindset is everything.
Mindset is everything. So Kcal, you told me that it came out of need. You essentially, it was developed back in 2010, right? You wanted to, how honestly did it unfold, this whole concept between you and Mark?
So we actually started this in 2009. It didn't open until September 2010. We actually paid a year's rent plus another half a year's rent before we could open, because the food that I kind of developed with the chef wasn't very good. It was not. I mean, look, it takes love to create good food. Yes. When you have love in the food, it tastes. You have the flavors. You have, there's nothing better than a good meal with good flavors that just ticks all the, the taste buds in your mouth, right?
And that's healthy.
That wasn't. Well, 100%. Of course, that's ticked. For me, look, everybody likes the top of ice cream, right? But they hate the part of it that makes you fat. We were trying, and coming up with things, doing everything ourselves. It was me and Mark, a couple of guys in the kitchen, and we had no office. We had a little lady called Omar as a accountant, doing the books. And we used to use the small, how many seats was there? There was 16 seats restaurant. It was kind of like 4 or 5 tables, sitting there and doing everything ourselves, taking pictures ourselves in this restaurant, posting them. It was good fun. I really like this kind of thing,
Yeah.
I think at that stage when you start a business, it's so much fun because you can be so creative. You have all these obstacles that you have to solve, and it's good fun. Of course, it's a big drain mentally because you don't know if you're going to succeed, but it's a lot of fun. It's a creative process. It's great.
Yeah, I'm sure. And back when you guys started in 2010, there wasn't a lot of competition, or maybe also consumers weren't as health conscious. So this whole industry wasn't as mainstream as it is today. But now in Dubai, you look around you, this F&B nutritious business has exploded. How do you guys manage this competition? I'm sure year on year, there are a batch of new restaurants operating in that particular space that are competing with you guys. How do you deal with competition? What would you say is your edge over these competitors?
Well, we have a concept in Kcal that we've kind of made an equation of. It's called CQC equals V. Consistency, quality, and customer experience or customer service equals value for money or value to the customer. I think if you always think in that direction, F&B is pretty simple. Now, when you put humans into it, it becomes very difficult. The more touch points you have, the more difficult it gets. What makes a good F&B business? Consistent good food at a price that you value or I value or whoever buys it value, says, you know what? I'm getting good food for a great price. And since most people are creatures of habits, or we are in general, as long as you can have consistency and quality, it's not that hard building an F&B business. The hard part is to get the consistency and get the quality.
Yeah.
The biggest brand in the world is like, McDonald's and all these different ones. Whether or not it's quality, that's debatable. But consistency is for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you say they do consistency bad quality, or you say they do consistently good quality, well, you have to value them what you pay for it as well, right? You're not going to pay, what do you pay? 10 dirhams for a burger? I mean, I couldn't even make a burger with 10 dirhams. Building an F&B business is, as you grow, you employ people, and people always become the variable. So you whenever you build a F&B business, you got to think about culture from the start. How are you going to shape the future of your business? We didn't do that. We didn't do that. There's been so many things.
And you guys did not have any experience in F&B, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was just an idea.
You guys had to learn it on the go.
But luckily Google has a lot of experience, and so does YouTube. So I remember when we're building our first kitchen. We have a central production unit, which produces or creates food for various verticals of our business. You have all these. Look, as an entrepreneur, in most cases, some people just say, "Yeah, we're going to find a consultant and do this and this and this." I did a little bit different, because I went online and started looking for, how do you build a kitchen? Start looking at floor plans of bigger kitchens, start looking at when to see other kitchens and so on, because I knew that the environment they live in, if they know you don't know, they're going to, rape you in terms of cash, right? So we actually ended up building most of our kitchen ourselves, and had different people doing parts of the business, like, and that saved us a ton of money. It probably saved us more than 50% of the construction part of it. So, these things are what made everything up. So, and the same thing goes for when we start building menus and so forth, looking at what's already out there and trying to listen, or of course, listen to clients, because those are the ones that take care of your customers, or they won't take care of you, right? So all these things all add up into the drive of beating the competition. I wouldn't say beating. I don't want to beat anyone, but I want to make sure that the customers that I attract, they have they enjoy what they receive in the best way possible, because at the end of the day, we are not a live cooking, at least when it comes to the e-commerce part. We cook and chill, right? So we cook the food and it's delivered to you cold, and you reheat it. So there will always be, if you compare it to freshly cooked food, it'll never be the same, right?
Yeah.
So competition. Look, in the e-commerce space, it's so easy, especially for businesses here in Dubai, to set up a little kitchen at home and start cooking and making an Instagram account and start cooking and sending it and kind of, making a little business. The hard part comes when you want to start growing, because then you need a system, and cooking from home is not really a system. It's kind of like you doing everything. And if one day, if you can't do it, then you have maybe 20, 30 clients that are going to be pissed off, and then you got to have the phone. And then, so you see all these little businesses open and close constantly. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's 200, maybe there's 300. I don't know. I mean, I know the top 20 of them, of course. It's always good to see, look at your competition, see what they're doing. Is there anything that you can learn from? Is there anything that you think is cool? And, a lot of mindsets creates great things, right? So just because it's competition doesn't mean you can't learn from them. Yeah.
So in terms of competition, I hear quality and consistency. That's how you guys compete. And also you mentioned that you did not have any sort of F&B background or expertise coming into this business. And I think it's important to stop here and acknowledge that someone's technical background or expertise does not matter in entrepreneurship. What matters is having a mission and having the drive to figure things out and unlock things, versus going into something that you think you would need to be an expert in. I don't think that should stop you in entrepreneurship. It's all about the mission and about the why, I think, and the drive. So this is a great message that you've shared with us, Andreas. But listen, entrepreneurship, let's be real, it's not as sexy as everyone makes it seem or sound. What does it really, I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs. It's a challenging journey to embark on. What does it take for someone to be a successful businessman or a successful entrepreneur? If you had to give me top 3 values, or maybe top 1 value or trait that comes top of your head for you to not ensure, but to succeed or to embrace.
Yeah, well, entrepreneurship. You know what? I think that word is so misused these days. Man, anyone, even a guy who makes a bit of money and buys into a business, calls himself an entrepreneur. For me, an entrepreneur is somebody who creates something from the ground up. And if, something where you really, Elon Musk is a great example, right? Richard Branson, obviously these guys are icons and so on. But there are many of these guys that don't reach that level, but there are so many of them. There's a lot of them here in Dubai that have done really well, that come from abroad and build businesses here and so on. For me personally, I think being an entrepreneur is the greatest job in the world. I've worked at a restaurant once when I was like 16. I used to clean plates on a ship. I worked there for about 8 hours and swore I was never going to come back in a restaurant cleaning plates. It was a very long time ago. Because of the entrance I had into building, businesses, I've never really found it hard. And if you start thinking about things being hard, you always look. Human beings have the easiest mindset of making up excuses why not to do anything, right? So I don't allow myself to have a mindset that says, oh, it's so hard, I can't do it, I can't do this, I can't do that. For me, it's all about, well, if he can do it, I can do it. What's the difference? Nothing. Maybe he spends more time researching. Maybe he spends more time on talking to the right people. Let's try that then. But of course, when you add component of having employees, that adds a huge thing to it, because now you have a responsibility for other people's lives, in terms of paying salaries and so on. And I would say the first part of a journey of entrepreneurial, I think it's great. The second part of it, when you just start doing revenue, you're paying salaries and so on, sometimes you really need to be careful on who you hire and so on. I think that part is it can be a bit, get the sweaty hands kind of thing. Man, am I hiring the right people? Am I doing the right thing? You start doubting yourself. We've gone through that, where we start hiring senior people and learned the hard way that, just because they're senior people doesn't mean that they have what we want. We didn't at one point, we didn't actually believe enough in ourselves to grow this company, because we grew pretty fast. As you said, we at that time, we were kind of the only ones in this space, which obviously gave a lot of, tailwind. When you start doubting yourself, that's when mistakes start happening. And I think that might be the hardest part about being an entrepreneur, because often you're a little bit alone. You need to find like-minded people to speak to support you. Speak to other entrepreneurs, go to events and so on. That really that helps a lot of people.
Yeah. What is
listen to a lot of
yeah, no, go ahead.
Listen to a lot of books. I personally maybe do 2 books a month on different subjects.
Nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, once you start understanding what knowledge can bring your life or to life, then it's kind of like, you want more. If you could read a book today that will change your life in 6 months, would you not do it?
Of course.
Of course. No, why
what
not?
book are you reading now?
Species.
Oh,
Um, yeah, what have I got here? Well, actually, I don't read. I listen.
oh yeah, yeah, me
Let me
too.
see.
Me
I
too.
I use
found
I,
book
I use
reading.
I use variable apps. I use. Let me see here. What do I use?
And also a
Where's my
follow-up
apps?
question
Here.
on that is going to be if you were to recommend a really good business book for people out there who are about to start their business ventures, something that really stuck with you, taught you maybe a lot. What book would that be, or something that you'd go back to maybe?
Yeah. So look, there is one thing. As an entrepreneur, you go into a business and you're passionate. You want to drive this business. You want to build something. You want to be your own boss. You want to be able to make decisions and so on. All the cool stuff. Often there's a component that people miss out, and that's the ability to communicate with people. And I think the most crucial thing for an entrepreneur is the communication between people, being able to inspire other people to join your cause, or being able to set up teams, to being able to communicate between teams. Um, so if I were to suggest a book, anything that can make you a more extrovert person, I personally it's actually a very old book, but I've listened. I listen to it. I don't read it. I sound too smart when I say read, but I actually listen.
Yeah,
Audible,
yeah, no, I listen to books as
Audible
well.
or podcast or whatever. How to Win Friends and Influence
Oof,
People
yeah,
by
powerful
Dale
book.
Carnegie.
Mm,
Yeah, that book for me is extremely deep psychology explained very simply. If you understand how to communicate between people, you can be the sky's the limit,
of course.
because all of a sudden your expertise is not needed as much. Your expertise should be, how do I get people to join my cause? How do I get that individual person who is a super geek to build me an AI that will do something for me? Because a lot of people that are very, very focused on one thing only have a very hard time looking beyond that, because they're so focused on it. So they need that entrepreneur that can pull people together and build something great. Anything to do with becoming more extrovert and communicating with people. My favorite is
Yeah,
How to
I
Win Friends
like
and
this.
Influence People. Yeah, I think it's a very good book.
Yeah,
I think it's a very simple listen as well.
yeah. Um, because in whatever venture you decide to explore, or whatever avenue you decide to walk down the path of, it will always end up being a people business. So that's was always at the core of every single business, and that's what
Sure,
also constitutes a culture in a business, and it's all about the team. So
sure.
learning that human soft skill is major. So I respect that recommendation that you've given us. uh, Andreas, what is a very, or if you had to look back at some of the biggest mistakes you've taken in your journey as a businessman or entrepreneur, which, or maybe let me reframe this question: what is a mistake that you typically see people getting into, or pitfalls that people tend to fall into as entrepreneurs, that you would maybe suggest to someone who's about to enter that journey to avoid that? Like, what mistakes would you recommend people to avoid, maybe reflecting
But
from your own experiences?
well, there's one thing, and I think most people will agree with this: the disbelief in yourself that you cannot do it. If you're a normal, sane person who knows how to open a computer and turn on YouTube or Google, there's nothing that you cannot learn, and there's nothing that you cannot become knowledgeable about. Maybe not an expert, because expertise usually takes a bit of passion, or else it just goes in one ear, goes out the other. Um, But as long as you are willing to learn, there's, first of all, as an entrepreneur, if you're willing to learn a lot of things, you don't have to become an expert. I mean, I've sat in meetings where I've sat when they're speaking or talking about something I wasn't 100% sure about. I would sit on the table with Google and just read about it. Okay, now,
I would cheat.
and all of a sudden I could throw out a few good words, and they'll think, oh, that guy knows his shit. So this is the kind of thing, right? So the disbelief in yourself, for me, is by far the biggest problem that entrepreneurs have Oh, I don't believe in myself. Oh, I feel sorry for myself. Oh, I can't pay the bills.
Mm.
Oh, I can't do that. Look, as an entrepreneur, you're going to run into all these problems. If you cannot handle it, don't start your own business. Become a salary slave and get paid to do a job that you might be good at and happy with. And so great for you. That's good. But if you want to go down the route of starting a business, look, there's going to be a lot of obstacles. Most important thing is that, yes, you can do it. Just set your mind to it and run through it. Fine. If you're thinking of competing with McDonald's, probably not a good idea. You need obviously to do your research first and jump into a business that you believe you can, create value for a person that will pay you for it. The value that you create for somebody else is what you get paid for, right? Whether it's food or IT or creating habits like Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's maybe from a business sense. Uh, Maybe from a more high level sense in life, shift happens, not shit. Shift happens, meaning that sometimes
That's true.
sometimes
I
we
like that.
yeah, we go through our lives, and there's always like this one moment or one day that changes us or shift us, or an experience, or we experience some sort of an epiphany that corrects our course or sets us on the right path. Was there anything of that sort in your personal or business life that you could share with us?
Yeah. Well, I'm typically not the kind of guy that sits and dwells over the past because that's the past. So I've experienced a lot of weird stuff and had a lot of failures and so on. But I look, if you get into the mode of thinking that failures are something that kind of made a dent in you, that's not my mindset. Any obstacle I have at the moment, it happens. Yes, it's an obstacle, but as soon as it is, I always have this mindset that says, okay, what could be worse than this? All right, good. So I'm here, but it could be that bad. So it's not that bad at all. So let's move on. How do we solve this problem? What do we do? How do we get on? So I think again, it comes back to the reason why I said that before, disbelief. It actually links up to something that happened back when we built Kcal. We ended up a lot of people employed. Today we have a lot more, but by that time we had like over 100 people employed, even more. And me and my business partner, neither of us have, we're not M&A guys or business school or business academy guys or something like that. We're just hardworking. Want to do something fun, want to do something great, and if there is a problem, we'll do the best we can to solve it. Read about it and then make a decision and so on. So when we got to this kind of growth period where we're kind of like going 45 degrees up in terms of revenue, before we would hire some awesome people, like really paid a fortune. They got paid twice as much as ourselves. But bringing people in from external places that are not used to entrepreneurial speed and so on, that was a disaster. It cost them, it nearly bankrupted us. I mean, at one stage, I'm like, how do I get out of this? And simply, it was because we didn't believe in ourselves. We ended up firing a whole bunch of people that didn't make any sense having employed. And we turned everything around in half a year by doing it ourselves. So that was a huge learning curve. I mean, that was the time when I thought, this ship is going to sink. And at the same time, we were winning awards and we were doing this. And it was kind of a crazy period, right? Because everybody thinks, oh, yeah, and these guys are a unicorn, And I'm thinking, yeah, this is not reality. Although our revenue was growing, our cost was just enormous. Our HR cost was enormous, but we were expecting to get people with a lot of background and so on, years and years and years of understanding F&B business to come in and say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. And say, wow, yeah, of course this is what I'm going to do. But most people they employed, they're kind of like, mice in a wheel. They just, they don't have that creative thought process on how to, build, and execute. The biggest mistake I would say was not believing in myself. This I mean, it nearly bankrupted us. Actually,
Yeah.
in theory, we were bankrupt, but luckily we got some help. So
Yeah. Fair enough, man. What I want to talk about the importance of partnerships and finding the right partner in business. I think you were lucky to find Mark because I read in an article, in an interview that you've mentioned that you guys complement each other very, very well. So, what would you say are what should people look for in partners whenever they would want to start a venture and maybe partner up with someone? What are some of the red flags they should move away from, and what are some of the things that they should consider when looking for a partner in business?
first of all, having somebody that mirrors you exactly, that's going to cause a lot of problems because there's nothing worse in business than somebody tapping you on the shoulder and telling you the greatest all the time. You're going to lose track and business is going to go bankrupt. You need a partner that can put you on the edge. Of course, not be rude and so on, but somebody who can put you on the edge. Somebody who has one part of the business, you have the other partner, and together you do something. Or it could be three, depends. But you need to define each role before you do anything, and it needs to be very clear, put on paper. Because when things are great, nobody looks at the paper. But when things are not great, people are going to say, "Yeah, you're supposed to do this." And if you don't have something, a piece of paper or a contract or a shareholders agreement, as you call it, it's going to be very hard for you to say, "Hey, Andreas, you're supposed to do this." No, I'm not. You're supposed to do that. Am I? Then all of a sudden just becomes. But if you have this kind of guideline, let's call it a shareholders agreement, a guideline on how to build the business. This is my
Yeah.
task.
Yeah.
So if you both are good at the same thing, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Yes, it's great to be friends, but being friends in business is very hard because you're going to see avenues of a personality that you've never seen before.
Yes.
Being
Yeah.
friends with somebody you go and
Yeah.
visit and eat a pizza with and go and have a drink with or whatever, that's totally different. But once you start seeing different colors of the personality, then it's like, man, I thought I knew that guy. But in most cases, most people don't know one another until they really have something to lose. And when you're building a business together, there's a lot to lose, right? There is time spent, there's money, there is ego, there is, all these things, So all of a sudden, I am very, very fortunate to have Mark. And Mark is, I wouldn't say he's a polar opposite of me, but he is a lot different from me. And we do agree on a lot of things, but a lot of things we do not agree on. And he comes from the kind of the more marketing side of things. I come from the more operations kind of thing. That's kind of how we split the company up. And sometimes, I want to do stuff that he doesn't believe is good for the brand. And sometimes he wants to do things that might be good for the brand, but it doesn't work operationally or something here. But, when we are so different, it inspires the other person to learn and listen. So if Mark has a great idea, and I think, no, that's not possible. And he explains why. I say, you know what, that might be possible. And this is basically how we've created so many different avenues of the business.
Yeah.
It's not by chance. It's something that we've really looked into and done our due diligence and listened to our clients. What do they want? How can we do the best? How do we execute it?
Yeah. Well, just on that, let's continue on this point. On this point, so basically, just maybe to wrap up this segment on partnerships. So look for someone who complements your skills and do not partner up with friends or family. That's something I couldn't agree more with. I always say that I would never enter a venture with my friends or my brothers. I could maybe be sitting on a board from a strategic point of view, but not both of us in the operational realm, because you're right. Business sometimes brings out the worst in people. And you might have completely different work style or value system when it comes to work than your friends, and you wouldn't want to risk or compromise on that. And I'm on that boat with you. And you also mentioned now that you guys have together been coming up with these synergies and different business ideas for Kcal. And I honestly thought initially that Kcal was a meal plan service. That you guys offer nutritious meal plans for people and you deliver it to them. But you guys are much more than that. You've got your retail space. You've also got your online food delivery. And you guys can you continue to innovate. You partner up with celebrity chefs to come up with inspired healthy meal plans. You guys partner up with gyms so that you can offer an experience to people and also market your brand. How do you guys come up with these ideas? Is there a creative process that you go through? And how would you guys evaluate a good idea versus a bad idea? Obviously, that comes with experience, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah. I think a lot of ideas comes again from me and Mark, because we kind of aspire one another to come up with ideas and see and kind of like, okay, I'm going to bring the new idea and he's going to be so impressed with me. You know, it's kind of like this kind of game, you know. And then we talk about it. Currently, we have a very, very good CFO called James, and he's kind of the third person. So it's me and Mark that kind of run the business, and he's the numbers guy that verifies. He comes in, he's a CFO. He comes in a bit dry, you know, doesn't really understand the food or the brand or something. Of course, he does that now, but he has more that kind of knowledge. In you know, he does the modulation of new ideas and so on financially. So we actually have a really it's really fun being in my office actually. So when we come up with ideas, well, first of all, it starts with creating value, right? Initially, Kcal was created to create value for myself. But as you get to know what your customers want, then all of a sudden you say, you know what, I think if I like it, other people like it, and then you build on that, and you know all the feedback that we get from all the customers that we speak to and so on. You see gaps in the market, and since we already doing things in the F&B space and have pretty good consistency and have a huge customer base, plugging in new ideas that has synergies is pretty simple. It's not simple, but it's never simple. But it's at least easier doing it than starting a brand new business from scratch. Like there's so many companies that do that, right? That has start with one thing and they add on and on and on. So we've had. We started with the restaurants, then we moved into meal plans because people were asking if they could you deliver all my meals in one day? And it's kind of like, great. Then I don't need to get a bigger restaurant. Now it's like I have 50 people sitting in a restaurant every day for the whole month. How much better could that be? And they're actually not sitting here; they're sitting out everywhere else. So we were driving around delivering food ourselves. And then obviously grew and grew and grew and grew. As we grew, we saw that people were more demanding about certain things in the fitness spectrum. So if you look at our spectrum of people, we were kind of catering to people that wanted to lose weight, eat healthy, and kind of have your own nutrition delivered to your office or home. But there is a section that like hardcore gym goers and like CrossFitters or bodybuilders, all that stuff, that wasn't really there. They don't want all the fancy sauces and all that. So that's how Fuel Up came up. And we decided to call it something else than Fuel Up because it's kind of like going towards more like eating protein powder. It doesn't really go with the DNA of Kcal, although it's the same ingredients, just presented in a different manner. And we came up with this kind of concept of build your own meal, which is pretty revolutionizing. I actually thinking about it, because there's nobody else doing it.
Fuel Up is build your own meal, and that's what you're partnering up with gyms on, right?
So first, Fuel Up was an e-commerce platform. Go on, build your own meals, get a box of food. You can order a box of food. You can order, for a week, for a month, however you want. It's all up to you. The whole idea is that you do everything yourself.
Customize the experience. Yeah.
Exactly. You do everything. You can do whatever you want. In the start, it was a bit hard because people are used to everybody doing everything for you. So getting the customer to build them on, the whole process themselves wasn't that easy because it was so new that people thought, man, can you just do it for me? I said, well, that's not really the business. The business is that you do it yourself. Although, of course, we do have people to help. People do this now, but in the start, we actually didn't. So that transitioned into doing fuel up in gyms. So we were in one gym first, and it didn't work out that well. It was okay, but we spent too much time on it. Time, as I said earlier, time is the commodity of life, and look, time spent you can't buy back. So spending time on something we didn't really see, satisfying us, it wasn't really worth it. But then when Gym Nation came, the guys from Gym Nation asked if we wanted to, see if we do something. And yeah, we made an agreement that we would work with them with in their gyms, providing food and beverages to the gym goers there. So in a couple of them we have Kcal because we thought it would be a better fit in Murdiff and Motor City, but in the rest of them it's fuel up. So you build your own meals there as well.
Nice.
Fuel up branding. So yeah, that's a good synergy.
Yeah.
Although the real business that we do is online. It's e-commerce.
Yeah.
And that's what we're good at, and that's how that's the bread and butter.
Yeah, but nonetheless, people shouldn't stop at where they are. They should always seek new ways to innovate, new ways to offer services and products to people, and listen to what customers want and cater to that. I think you guys are doing that pretty well. Are there, when Andreas has to focus on a project, or you've got this, I'm curious as to how do you organize your day or your weeks? How does that happen for you? If you want to get focused on a certain task, how do you get to it? Do you typically, is there sort of an app? Do you use sticky notes? Do you use your notes on your phone? What system or ritual do you use to help you organize or get more focused at whatever you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so I use various things. First of all, I turn everything into a routine. My wife calls me the most routine person she's ever known. I wear the same clothes. Obviously, it's different clothes, but I wear the same T-shirt and same gray pants every single day. I like it. I don't have to think about it. Just put it on. I don't have to comb my hair because it's short. I do the same thing every single day. I believe that to be productive, you need to habitize, if there's not even a word, but you need to create a habit out of everything that doesn't need to be creative. So the creative part of focusing on building recipes or expanding the business, something like that, that's what I call the creative part. But the running the business is, looking at emails, looking at finance, looking whatever day-to-day things there is in a business, speaking to people and so on. That should be more like, okay, there's certain time slots where I do stuff. Usually I come in an hour, 2 hours before everybody else in the office, and I sit and do my emails. I have my breakfast, have a coffee, and look at things, write things down that I might need to be able to do later during the day. Longer term projects, I usually set them up in Asana. I've used Monday as well, but I like Asana is more simple, so I use that. For myself, either I send myself emails with ideas, and the ideas come up all the time, how to improve things. It could be in the middle of the night. It could be anytime, actually. Look, this is what it's like being an entrepreneur. This thing keeps going 24/7. It never stops. How I set the time of my day, as I said earlier, I do my emails first. The first half of the day until 12 usually goes with routine things that needs to be done. The second half of the day is open. That means that's where I do stuff that's not planned. And there's always stuff that's not planned. Like, we need to fix that. Why is that down? Why are we not getting enough leads? Why is this? Why is that? There's so many things, right, that needs to be, spoken about. one of the problems is that that if you don't have that period of time where you can do your general stuff, answer emails, get back to people, it's usually within the group. If you don't have that time, your mailbox just builds and builds and builds, and it becomes a stress factor, right? Oh, now I've got 4 emails from the 14th of September. Oh, I didn't answer them. Oh no, I'll delete them. Then they won't know them. Oh, that doesn't happen. I finish my mailbox in the morning, and then whatever comes in, I obviously do it on the go, like most people do. And lucky for me, my emails are very short, so I don't have to think a lot about it. Or most of the time, I use WhatsApp. It's much easier for me. It's much easier to explain. The whole company is divided into groups, so whoever needs to who need to communicate is on WhatsApp, so it's sent voice notes much faster. For me, it's all about how do you get from A to B the fastest and easiest. The more simple and the more easy you make it, the easier it is for the whole team to understand what's going on.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your morning routine or your day routine with us. This is there are some good notes to take there. You're also the second entrepreneur who brings up Asana as a work management tool that they use. I think I might need to start charging Asana for commission fees, because it's been recommended a couple of times. This is great, Andreas. Before we wrap up our conversation with my 3 rapid fire questions, do you have any final words for entrepreneurs who are about to start their F&B journey? Because F&B space, as we mentioned, is not easy. And I'm asking this because I got a lot of friends who are operating in that space or about to enter that space. So I'm sure that they're going to find your answer to be valuable. Any tip for someone who's about to enter that industry?
I don't know. First of all, when you get into the F&B, what do you bring? Everybody always says, well, I'm going to make the best food in the world. Well, there's 1,000,005 people before you that said the same thing. But are they actually doing that? I don't know. Some of them will be, of course, or else they wouldn't be in business. F&B is a very, very tough business. You depend on humans. Humans is always the factor that will either make or break you. If you can get the right people and you can create the right culture, and you can yourself become a great leader, not become a guy that sits in the corner demanding to do this, to do that. Become a leader, as in, obey by your own rules. Drive the culture. It's the drive. It's the drive. Do your due diligence first. Whatever business you're in, you need to make sure that whatever you bring to the table, you can get your return on your time.
Yeah. So I heard what value you're bringing. Do your due diligence. You've got to have the drive and the people. Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
More or less. There's a lot more to it, but yeah.
I'm sure. So Andreas, we're coming to the end of the conversation, and I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions. You just give me whatever comes to your mind. I did not share those questions with you on purpose, because I wanted to.
You want to see the reaction?
I want you to be impulsive with your answers, and let's see what you come up with. So the first question is, what piece of advice would you give your younger self? 1.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. This was brought up several times during the conversation, so I'm sure it's something you value. Second question, what tip or hack would you give anyone out there who's trying to move closer to a goal, whether it's one day closer to that goal? How can they
in terms of advice, or?
Yeah, I mean, hack or tip or advice for anyone who's trying to turn that one day into day one.
Knowledge is everything.
So knowledge, you've got resources, Google and stuff. Like, start with research, maybe, and acquiring knowledge.
100%. Whatever you know today, if you study today, it'll change your perception of tomorrow. So
nice. Finally, what is it that you, Andreas, you wish to accomplish one day? And you can start the sentence with one day I.
It's very simple. I want to pursue a continuously happy mindset, a satisfied mindset. Whatever I do, I have to be satisfied with what I do, whether I live in a nice house or live in a hut or sail on a boat or whatever I do. As long as my mindset is satisfied with the progress that I've done, I'm happy. Now, that could mean a lot of things because I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 10 years. One thing I do know is that I have 2 wonderful kids and a wonderful wife, and they make me happy. And I believe that having experiences and exploring the surroundings with them is great. I believe that's it.
Nice, man. Andreas, this was
very
great.
Deep.
Very, very, very deep. But yes, your message, I think, is mindset takes you to places. This was great and this was fun. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey with us. Where can people follow you or follow your work or Kcal or Kcal's work, or where you guys are up to?
Kcal's work or Kcal's food? Where can people eat our food?
Where can for those living in Dubai, where can people?
Kcallife.com. And then obviously I'm on LinkedIn as well under my name, Andreas.
Yeah.
Andreas Borgmann.
Are you guys on Deliveroo on Talabat or any of those platforms?
We're on Deliveroo. Oh man, that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different story.
Do you know we were the first ones to start a dark kitchen back in 2014.
No way.
We started the first thing, and the idea hasn't changed since then. The reason why we started the dark kitchen was the same reason people started today. Unfortunately, we started in DIP and there was no customers. So we closed it again after a year.
Man. And look at how the cloud kitchen or the dark kitchen industry is exploding now. Completely.
Oh, yeah. Look, this is cloud kitchens and so on. I'm not a big fan of it. We are not touching it. I believe that, look, you can launch a brand very quickly, but you're selling yourself to the devil. Yeah. You know, if you're truly a food pioneer, you want to make sure that your clients get value, right? And when you get involved with, of course we do, but when you get involved with these dark kitchens and so on, you become dependent on them. And eventually, whatever you know today is not it's going to be in 5 years. There's going to be a consolidation. There's going to be ownership. Those passionate people that want to start a restaurant, unless it's a footfall restaurant, like a physical bricks and mortar restaurant, it's not going to be a pretty face. Thankful for us, we have not gone into it, and I would rather stay the size that we are today, which I'm happy with, than start going into there, because I'll just give you a quick idea. You have the perception of something, a price of something, right? Let's say you want a meal, a salad or something like that, right? You let's say it's 60 dirhams, right? That 60 dirhams goes to the restaurant. Well, 30% goes to an app. So now you have 40 dirhams left. Then you need to deliver, right? Once you start picking away all these things, the restaurant has very, very little left, but they still need to survive, right? Now, you as a customer, you don't want to pay more than 60 dirhams. You're not going to pay 70 dirhams so the restaurant can make a bit of money. What happens? Consistency of the product that you used to get is going to get diluted. Means when you buy 100 grams of chicken in a salad, all of a sudden you get 60 grams of chicken. You're thinking, oh, that's weird. The salad looks smaller. But there's a reason for that. Because now you have somebody in the middle picking out money that wasn't there 10 years ago. And this is a really shame, because there's a lot of great people that want to start businesses that gets caught up in this and end up having a very bad experience.
Yeah.
But there's in the future, it's already happening. There's a lot of consolidations going on. It's going to be a very monopolized market and so on. We'll see.
I'm sure. Awesome. Andreas, man, thank you so much. Really, this was insightful. I'm glad that I brought up Deliveroo and Talabat, because you've given some great insight there. And thanks for taking the time to be with us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you were able to pick up a thing or two that could help you in business or life. If you would like to hear more conversations like these and you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. through your preferred podcast platform. And follow us on Instagram at oneday.thepodcast. And you could reach me on my personal Instagram account at @o_almajali. And last but not least, if you prefer to watch the full episode on video, then you can do so on our YouTube channel, One Day the Podcast. Till next time.